So session number 20, and today we are going to actually discuss verse number 20, right? Yeah, 20. It is-
20.
Yeah, so quick background. As we
Yeah.
know, this is Upadesh Saar, that is Bhagwan's Upadesh, Lord Shiva's Upadesh. And it
Mm.
is for whom? It is for Mimansis or Karma Kandis, the people who have a strong belief in action
Section
and
21 actually.
that whatever
Hmm?
happiness they want, it can be obtained through actions.
Mm.
So Bhagavan tells them that actions cannot give you permanent happiness. It just gives a little bit of happiness here and there, and which lasts only for a very short period. But this because of this short-lived happiness, one strengthens the vasanas, and every action that you produce also creates karma phala, so that creates a deeper bondage. And only knowledge, that is the knowledge of the self, can liberate one from the sorrows of this world forever. So that is the background. And we discussed about like problems of the mind, because of which we are not able to realize our own true nature. And the earlier shlokas were related to how to remove these problems of the mind. So uh, verse number 2 and 3, 1 to 3 rather, were related to karma yoga, because the first problem of the mind is the taints of the vasanas or desires on the mind. So the solution is chitta shuddhi, that is, these vasana stains need to be removed. And from shloka number 1 to 3, Bhagavan tells us about karma yoga, which is a means to remove these vasana stains. Then verse number 4 to 10, Bhagavan tells us how to remove this second problem of agitations of the mind. And this is through Bhakti Yoga, which was detailed in verses 4 to 10. Then Bhagavan also tells us that even though these problems are there, these can be temporarily removed through Ashtanga Yoga, which is a means for tuning the body and the mind, so that at least temporarily we are able to like keep the mind peaceful. So, and body in this process is also important, because if we have to sit for meditation for long period of time, then body needs to be fit. So that is what is Ashtanga Yoga, which was described in verse number 11 and 12. Okay, so first we have to purify the mind, and that is done through Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and in preparation for meditation, we also do Ashtanga Yoga to tune the body and the mind. And then one has to undertake Jnana Yoga, that is, get the knowledge of the self, and that involves three steps: Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasanam, which was described in verse number 13 to 16. But Bhagavan Ramashi has his own unique way, which is called inquiry. And that was discussed in verse number 17 and 18 and verse number 19. Okay, in verse number 17 and 18, like what Bhagavan propagates is, if you have a problem, try to analyze the problem. So the sadhanas of Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga were with the assumption that mind is a problem which doesn't allow us to like get this subtle knowledge of the self. So Bhagavan here in from starting from verse number 17 discusses another approach, and that is of inquiry. He says, inquire into the problem and see if the problem actually exists. So this is what is the Bhagwan's method of inquiry, and example used here is that of rope and a snake. a rope is lying on a pitch dark night on a road, and when one sees from a distance, he imagines it or gets a projection of the snake. So the reaction of an individual depends on his tendency or his gunas. So one with tamasic tendencies, his reaction is fear. One with rajasic tendency, he wants to fight this, like solve this problem then and there. So he looks around for a stick to kill the snake. So these are the two reactions. What Bhagwan propagates is the inquiry method, which only people with sattvic mind or purified mind can use. And when you inquire into this problem, like in this example, if somebody gets a torch and puts a light on this so-called snake, one realizes that actually there is no snake. It's a harmless rope lying on the road. So Bhagavan says, like, don't get carried away and don't take it for granted that the problem actually exists. Rather, inquire into the problem, and you will know that the problem actually may not exist at all. Okay. So, when you inquire into this snake and put a light of the torch, the snake disappears, and one can very clearly see the reality, which is the rope. So all these sadhanas were prescribed assuming that the mind is a problem and mind needs to be purified, mind needs to be quietened. But Bhagavan, and then start the Jnana Yoga, which is Shravana, Manana, and Nididhasan. Whereas Bhagavan says just inquire into the problem and you will realize that there is no such thing as mind. So that's what we did in the last few sessions. Like when we analyze the
Uh-huh.
mind, we realize that mind is nothing but a continuous flow of thoughts. So too many thoughts, and that is what is the superficial analysis of the mind tells us. All the time, lots of thoughts, and because of that, mind is always agitated. But when you analyze further, you will realize that there are only two types of thoughts, the aham thought and idam thought. No, it's not Adam, it's idam. Okay, idam is the thoughts of the object. Like whenever I see an object, I have a thought about that object. But when we again analyze deeper, we realize that all these aham thoughts, that is the thoughts of the object, are based on only one thought, which is aham, that is the I thought. So that's what the deeper analysis of the mind tells us, that predominantly, not predominantly, all the time there is this I thought. And what is this I thought? This I thought is due to my wrong identification, that is by identifying with my body, mind, and intellect, and based on my superficial experience in this world, I develop this understanding of myself, which is aham thought. And if you have to summarize this uh, aham thought or this wrong understanding, it is I am finite and decaying, because I associate myself with my body, which is finite and it is also temporary, it is decaying, dying. So that it is the first misunderstanding that I have. So I'm always, I have a feeling of being incomplete and unfulfilled. So there is a lingering thought of sorrow, and in order to make myself complete, what I do, when I'm exposed to the world, I develop desires for the objects or beings of this world, and I feel that by acquiring these objects, I will become complete and fulfilled. And that's why we are undertaking one action after the other. And as Bhagavan says, we are getting deeper and deeper into the bondage. So we develop desire for the world objects, and then we mind is all the time planning as to how to acquire this happiness from the world. And that is the problem, and that is the cause of our sorrow. So if you So if you see, this aham bhav is also called ego. It is not like English ego, it is just the sense of I. I am doing this, I am breathing, I am eating. So it is not actually pride, it is only that aham bhav, the thought of I. And when you have this, it's the basic nature of this ego is sorrow, that aham bhav, and it's only a thought, it's only an illusion. So because of like this constant feeling of being in, and because of this aham bhav, there is a delusion. And what is this delusion? We just discussed that I am this body, I am different from others, and I am unhappy, I have sorrow, and there is happiness in this world. And if I acquire the objects from this world, I will get happiness. So this delusion leads to desires, that is kama. And with their desires, and when we undertake actions to fulfill these desires, we develop attachment towards the object. What is meant by attachment? I associate happiness with the objects of the world, and that is what is attachment. So I feel I must have this object in order to become happy, and that is what is attachment. And with attachment, like I also develop likes and dislike. A particular object gives me happiness, I have like for it. Some particular object gives me sorrow, so I have aversion to that
Yes, yes.
object. And this world is full of pair of opposites. There is heat and cold. Sometimes you get praise, sometimes you are criticized. So all the time the world is full of this pair of opposites. There is always uncertainty. Everything in this world is temporary. And when ego dances to the tunes of these pairs of opposite, it gets nothing but sorrow.
Correct.
So that's how, like, from ego, ego is the source of our happiness. So if we have to do something about this sorrow, we have to do something about this ego. Okay. And that's what Bhagavan told us in the last session, like verse number 19, which we discussed. Bhagavan says, just inquire from where does this I thought arise, and if you are able to do this inquiry effectively, the I thought disappears. And this is self inquiry. So Bhagavan says the cause of your sorrow is this I thought. So inquire into what this I thought is. Currently, I have a wrong understanding of this I. So inquire and see what is the reality of this I. And Bhagavan says if you do that, the I thought falls. That means the ego is destroyed. And Bhagavan tells us this process of inquiry. Like in the last session, we discussed this when we were discussing verse number 19. So Bhagavan says,
Same time.
first focus on this idam thought, the thoughts about objects. Just be a dispassionate witness of these thoughts, and you will realize that these thoughts of the world start reducing and eventually they disappear. You will feel that the mind is quietened. But Bhagavan says, even though you feel that all the thoughts have disappeared, there is one thought which is aham, the I thought. It is still there, and one needs to inquire into this thought, and you will be able to do this only if your mind is pure. If the mind is pure, then it's very difficult to identify this aham thought. And that's why the initial steps of karma yoga and bhakti yoga are required, which will purify the mind and prepare the mind for this inquiry. Like, even though it is a direct path, if you think that straight away I will sit quietly and inquire into the mind, it is not going to be easy. Because if the mind is not pure, first of all, it will keep cropping the thoughts of the worldly objects, and even quietening the mind will be difficult. And only when the mind is quietened and all thoughts disappear and there is only one thought, then only you can do an inquiry on this thought. So that's how important this pure mind is. So we discussed this in the last session, and Bhagavan says, like, when there is aham thought and the mind is impure, this aham thought itself is trying to find out what is aham, and that is not going to work. Okay, so we discussed this in the last session, and And today we are going to, like, let's first read this description. Like Bhagavan says, like, you can destroy this ego. So let me read this, the introduction. Each individual wants to attain something or the other in life. Some want to be beautiful, some good, some wise. Someone wants to be rich, and some other a minister. On attaining the goal, they can say, I am slim, I am nice, I am wise, I am rich, and I am minister. This notion, according to the explanation in verse 19, is the ahankara or the ego. It is said that through self inquiry, this is destroyed. We therefore are afraid of Vedanta as we feel that our very existence is destroyed. This fear arises because of our not understanding the true import of the term destruction of the ego. And now this verse 20 is going to tell us that you don't have to be afraid of this destruction of ego. So let's first see, like, how this destroys the sorrow. Like we have seen that this ego, it gives rise to delusion and is three wrong understanding about ourselves, about the world, and this results into desires. And Bhagavan says that if you have to remove this sorrow, you have to attack at the ego and kill the ego through the process of inquiry. So when you do that inquiry and you are able to do this successfully, the ego will get destroyed, the aham thought will be destroyed along, and after that the moha, kama, attachment, and pair, like dancing to the tunes of the pair of opposite, also will go, and because of that you don't won't have any sorrow in this world. So if you have to get rid of this sorrow, you have to destroy this aham thought or the ego thought. But then we always are anxious because very consciously and with effort we have developed this I. Like initially it is only a I thought, which is like my body and mind and intellect and my name. But during the life, by undertaking actions, and these actions are for the purpose of expanding this I. So we keep acquiring the positions of the world, we keep acquiring titles in this world, and this I, which is a wrong understanding, is now strengthened. But I have this aham bhav, and it is like really very very strong, and it is because of all my belongings. So when you read this, that this I itself is going to be destroyed, anyone is going to be afraid. So in the this verse that we are going to discuss today, verse number 20, Bhagavan is going to tell us what actually it means. So let me just chant this. अहमिनाशभाज्यहमहं तया स्फुरतिरुस्वयं परमपूर्णसत्. Okay, so these are the Sanskrit word ahaminashabhaji. So when the ego is destroyed as I, aham, aham, taya, what happens? Bhagavan assures us that another I, which is supreme infinite existence, parama purna sat, another I arises, and this rises in the heart. Here, heart means uh, in the entire, like it is actually the essence. So that essence rises, and this is the translation of this word, of this shloka. When the ego is destroyed, the self, which is supreme, infinite existence, shine forth of its own independently as I. Okay, so let's read this commentary. Yeah,
Yes.
Umaji, can you just read both the paragraphs?
Yeah, I will do. The self is called the Atman. According to Vedanta, we are ignorant of our true self. Due to this ignorance, we identify with the body, mind, and intellect and take ourselves to be these limited conditionings that we identify with. This is the birth of the ego. When this ignorance born ego is destroyed, the pure self manifests of its own. When the clouds of the ignorance are swept away by the breeze of the knowledge, the self shining sun is experienced. The destruction of the ego does not mean the destruction of the body, mind, and intellect, but the destruction of the false notion that I am the body. The ego alone is the cause of all our misery, and hence its destruction is desirable. An actor does not fear changing from his stage costume to his normal dress. He does not mind giving up his role to be himself. When the ego is destroyed, the pure self shines forth. That does not mean that the self is not present now and comes into being only when the ego is destroyed. The sun shines even when our vision of it is obstructed by the clouds. The self is of the nature of existence. It is presently mistaken to be the ego. The actor does not lose his true identity when he is in the garb of a beggar or a king. To avoid the misunderstanding that the self is finite, the words supreme and infinite existence are used. It means that the self, unlike the ego, is not limited by time, space, and objects. It exists in all the three periods of time and is all pervading. Now, why should we fear the destruction of the finite to gain the infinite?
Okay, yeah, thank you. Very good. Yeah, so first para tells us like that because of this wrong understanding about I, this aham is actually becomes finite, limited because of identification with the body and the mind. And that's the reason we develop all these desires which forces us to undertake action. But in spite of undertaking that those actions, we are always in a state of sorrow. And Bhagavan says that this needs to be destroyed. And in the last shloka, Bhagavan told us how to destroy this, that is by inquiring into this I. And this verse actually tells us like one need not be worried about this destruction of the I, which we have meticulously built over our entire life. Because when this I is destroyed, another actually the words used are actually doesn't convey the right meaning. Nothing rises, it is always there. And that's what Bhagavan says, that this uh, I is always there. The only thing is because of this wrong understanding of myself, the small I which we call, because of this small I, we are not able to understand or realize our own true nature, which is actually happiness. And Bhagavan says that there is like this small I, when you kill it, the big I, it which is already there, you realize that that is your own true nature. So let's understand this. This is in Bhagavad Gita also, the shloka with the same meaning. Jnanena tu tadajnanam yesham nyashitamatmanah तेषामादित्यवज्ञानं प्रकाशयति तत्परम्. This is shloka number 16 from chapter 5. And here also Bhagavan says the same thing. For those whose ignorance is destroyed, and we saw that this small I is nothing but our ignorance about our own true nature. And when this is destroyed by divine knowledge, the supreme entity is revealed. So here he says revealed, which was always there. And the metaphor used is just as the sun illumines everything when it rises. Okay. Yeah, Rupal, you have some question. Hello, or it was a mistake. Okay, no
Sorry, no,
problem.
no, 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 no. I want to ask something. I think I forgot to on.
Okay, just think about it. Maybe we
Uh,
can discuss. You remembered? Okay, go ahead.
aham, yeah, aham in verse 19. Aham would mean small I, right? You
Yes.
said aham
I
and
mean,
idam.
it's not actually, aham is I. The understanding is wrong. So we
Okay.
call small I, where the one with wrong understanding as the small I. See, I is there, okay, and whatever is our understanding, that is I, that is the I, aham bhav. Right now, we have a wrong understanding, and because of that, we call it small I. What is the correct understanding? Satchit Ananda. And that's why we call it I. When you have that correct understanding, that is bigger I.
So
So
correct
what?
understanding is also aham, and wrong understanding is
Yes,
also aham. Aham.
yes,
Okay,
yes,
so
yes.
one thought aham means that is the big I.
Currently we have, yeah, currently what we have.
Currently we have. Okay, okay, the conditioned one. Okay,
Yes, yes.
thank you,
Oh,
thank you.
yeah. Yeah, so we discussed this, how this ego in the first place gets formed. Like we have, like this is Brahman, like my actual nature is Brahman, or the capital self, which is existence, consciousness, bliss. So I am infinite, eternal, and my nature itself is happiness. So I don't have to search for happiness in this world. But by being wrongly identified with this limited entity of body, mind, intellect, whose properties are it is inert, it is finite, it is decaying and dying. An entity, it gives rise to an entity called ego or this aham thought. And what is this aham thought? It borrows existence and consciousness from Brahman, and it borrows the other properties like inert, finite, decaying, dying from this body, mind, and intellect. And because of this wrong understanding, decaying and dying, I have this inherent feeling of being incomplete, unfulfilled, and that is what is sorrow. So, this is how this ego is developed. It borrows some properties from body, mind, intellect, some properties from Brahman, and sits in between, and that is what is ego. So, when this ego is destroyed, this wrong understanding that I am inert, finite, decaying, and dying also goes away. And then arises this correct understanding of I, the big I. And what is this current understanding of myself? I am infinite, eternal, and my true nature itself is bliss. So that's what Bhagavan says. So even though this aham, which has a wrong understanding, gets killed, then immediately, like you are able to realize what actually I am. I am Satchit Anand. That thought becomes predominant, and your entire behavior or the way you transact in this world changes. When you have a wrong understanding, you compete with everybody in the world because you want to expand. But when your understanding is corrected, you no longer have fear for anyone in this world. And yeah, okay. And we talked about like problem and a solution, and we saw that sometimes you need to inquire into the problem, and you will, okay, you sorry, you need to inquire into this problem. And here, like we always have problem, the jiva or the ego, when it is transacting in this world, it is full of problems, and we are busy solving these problems through our action. But when we inquire as to who is having the problem, what is this entity which claims that it has all the problems, that entity itself disappears, and along with it, the problems also disappear. If you look at life, like entire life, we are trying to solve the problems of this entity called Viraj. But when you inquire, like, what is this Viraj, this entity itself disappears. And this was like, I can say, patented, this inquiry method. I mean, it was a speciality of Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi, and to such an extent that anyone who went to him for a problem, he never gives solution to the problem. He would always ask, find out who's having this problem. That was his standard reply. So he always encouraged to inquire into the self, the true nature, our own true nature, and like the problem would disappear. So he was not like other saints who try to give solution to the problem. Anyone went to him with a problem, he would always say, find out who's having this problem. Okay. Yeah.
Virajji, Virajji,
Yeah.
sorry, just I'm writing notes. That's why you borrow existence, consciousness, and knowingness from Brahman, and you said you borrow inertness from inertness and what from BMI?
All the properties of BMI, one is it is inert, it is finite, limited, it is decaying, dying, okay,
Yeah.
and its basic nature, and the basic nature of ego becomes sorrow because of these properties which it borrows from body, mind, intellect. If you are limited, you feel all kinds of constraints all the time. Naturally, like, you are not going to be happy. Only for a short period you may be happy, but that nagging feeling of being unfulfilled is always going to be there, and that's what is the basic nature of this ego. And it borrows only existence and consciousness from Brahman, not the bliss. It's not able to borrow bliss, because sorrow and bliss are opposite. So if you are all the time sorrow, you will never experience this happiness of Brahman.
But
You got it?
Virajji, we do experience bliss and deep sleep state, right?
Yes, yes.
So
That's
then
when
that
that
is also
aham
borrowed.
disappears. That time the aham is dormant.
Okay, 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 okay.
Yeah, but you don't have, you don't know anything also. There is, like, you are not able, see, that is the irony actually. We try to be happy, and during waking stage, we are busy acquiring this happiness from the world. Okay. And this aham, what we have, it is not only my form and name, it is also my belongings, the relationships I have developed, and it gives me a sense of happiness. And but I know that this happiness is temporary, and I want to be permanently happy. So I feel that by acquiring more and more objects, more wealth, my happiness will increase, and there will be a time when this happiness will never disappear. So
But
we keep expanding this aham, but when in deep sleep, when we are not aware of this aham, and also like I am not aware of all the acquisitions, like the positions that I have acquired, that time actually I am happy. So what is that is what is irony. We feel by acquiring objects and titles of this world, I will be happy. But in deep sleep, when everything is gone, I am happy.
But
Okay. You
Virajji,
understand?
all the objects of the world is also Brahman, right? So if we are
Yes.
getting a happiness buying a car, then that happiness is also borrowed from Brahman, right? Because
Yes, everything in
the
this. That's why the world is called an illusion. Anything who's, see, if you talk about properties, okay, if you consider existence also as a property, then there is borrowed existence, and there are only Brahman has existence as his inherent property. All others borrow existence from this Brahman. So whatever we acquire, it is also an illusion, because existence is not its inherent property.
I'm not getting it. Viraji, could you please again repeat? Sorry.
Okay. I was talking about existence as a property. Okay. Hmm. Yeah, I'll give you a simple example. Okay. Like there are things in this world who has an inherent property, like sugar. What is the inherent property of sugar? Sweetness,
Sweetness.
right? Now, when you make tea, you add sugar. So, is sweetness inherent property of tea?
No.
No, it borrows it from sugar. Okay, so
Yes.
when Vedanta says uh, um, Brahman Satya and Jagat Mithya, what it means is everything which has existence as a borrowed property is Mithya. It is an illusion. So now you look around this world, look at yourself, it's yourself also, your body basically. Is existence inherent property of your body?
Not of my body, but like the one
No,
which
yeah,
the
we are talking
enabling
about body.
factor. Okay, no,
No,
not of body.
no. So what it means? If you consider yourself to be a body, you are also an illusion.
Okay.
Correct? Car. Is it illusion or it is reality? With the same definition.
Illusion.
Illusion. So now look around the entire world. Is anything real?
No, no.
Nothing. That's why Jagat is Mithya. And only Brahman has existence as its inherent property. So that is the only reality.
Got it.
You understood?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Thank you.
So when one illusion acquires another illusion, it is not going to become reality. Okay. I hope I
Yes,
have
yes.
answered your
Yes,
question.
yes, 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 Viraji. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so this says, for those whose ignorance is destroyed by divine knowledge, the supreme entity is revealed just as the sun illumines everything when it rises. Like this is a verse in Gita which has the same meaning. Yeah, actually, I think we discussed this. Yeah. Yeah, so here, like as Bhagavan says, like the entity having the problem that itself dissolves, so there are no more problems. And that is the Ramana Maharshi approach. So he never gave solutions to any of the worldly problems. And in this shloka number 29 of chapter 6, Bhagavan tells us like what is the state that we acquire when we do this. And Bhagavan says, Sarva Bhutasthamatmanam Sarva Bhutani Chatmani Ikshate Yoga Yuktatma Sarvatra Samadarshana. With the mind harmonized by yoga, he sees the self abiding in all beings and all beings in the self. He develops equanimity towards all. So when we are focused on body, mind, and intellect, we see when we focus outside, we also focus on the lower nature of everything. The higher nature of everything in this world is Brahman, but we don't notice that Brahman. We take it for granted and all the time focused on lower nature of everything, which is name and form. So there is always a feeling of me, and there are millions of things apart from me. So there is always a fear. When with many, this fear arises, fear of me versus others. So, what is the vision of this Jnani? He sees self in all and all beings in the self. There is only Brahman. Everything, I myself am manifestation of this Brahman. Everything in this world is also the manifestation of Brahman. The essence of everything is Brahman. So his focus is on commonality, that is Brahman. since he considers himself not as a body, mind, intellect, he considers himself as a Brahman. So when he looks around, his focus is also on Brahman. We focus on differences of body, mind, and intellect. The realized saint, when he sees around, he sees only Brahman. So he develops a sense of equanimity with all. Everybody is mine. And when the eyes are open, he sees Brahman everywhere, which is Saguna Brahman, a Brahman with name and form. And with eyes closed, he experiences Nirgun Brahman, and his natural experience is I am Brahman. What is our natural experience? When I get up, when this aham comes, what is that aham? I am this body, mind, intellect. But when for an realized saint, the constant understanding is I am Brahman, I am apart from this body, mind, and intellect. Body is only incidental, which is temporary, decaying. I am infinite, eternal. I am bliss. And he's very clear that Brahman is the only reality. Everything I see around is only an illusion. So that is what is the vision of a Jnani. Okay. So with this, we have come to the end of this session. Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Viratji,
Rupal, you can ask the question.
yeah, Viratji,
Yeah,
say once I drop avidya, I realize Brahman. But then again, when I
right.
open eyes, Maya is there. Avidya is gone, but Maya is there because yogi can see the world. He can see the world, but he's different. But Maya is there. That means world is there for him. Maya does not
Your world is
disappear.
there. That's why.
Avidya disappears, but Maya doesn't
But
disappear.
you know that it is Maya. You know it is Maya. You know that world is only an illusion. For us, whatever we read, how many times we read, still like it's only a theoretical knowledge that world is an illusion. I mean, that's why our behavior doesn't change just by theoretical knowledge. The behavior will change only when you you actually experience Brahman everywhere.
Mhm.
See, Gurudev or Guruji, I think, he used to tell a very nice story. I may have told it. Like, this is similar to a person. Like, there is one person who develops a wrong understanding that he is a rat. Okay. And the people take him to psychologist, and you know how psychologists work. They counsel him, like tell them that rat has a tail, you don't have a tail. Look at the teeth of the rat, you do, and look at your teeth, you are not a rat. So this counseling session goes on. And finally, the guy gets fed up. His understanding is still that I am rat. So he's all the time fearful. But he gets fed up and he tells doctor, yes, 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 now I know, like I am not a rat, I am a man. So doctor thinks he's cured now. Okay, so the guy leaves the clinic. Okay, and after some time he keeps running and go and hides under the table. So doctor asked him, what happened? I mean, you are no longer, you know that you are not a rat, you are man. So the man says, I know very well that I am a man, I am not a rat. But the cat sitting out there doesn't know. Okay, so that's why I came running. So that is our situation. I know I am Brahman, but the world doesn't know I am Brahman, so I am all the time scared. Okay. Hmm. So when you have a correct understanding, you very well know that world is an illusion. Till that time, it's only a theory. Yeah, Rupal, I answered your question.
Yeah, but I think I have to do a lot of manan because world is appearing, right? If it's an illusion also, when I open my eyes, Maya is there. Prakriti is there. Maya is there. Avidya is
No, I'll
gone.
give
My
you one more
individual
example.
avidya is gone. My
No,
individual,
I'll give
if
you
I
one
can
more
remove,
example. I'll
yeah.
give you one more example. Okay. We have in the home nowadays, they have this home theater. So we are watching a horror movie with our kid, small kid. Okay, and all the lights are switched off. It's pitch dark, and that movie is playing on a big screen, and the child gets terrified. Okay, because of, like, as I said, it's a horror movie. So if we have to do something about that child, what we have to do? We have to just switch on the light, and the child realizes he is just sitting in the comfort of his home, that whatever movie he was got scared of, whatever the characters he got scared of, they are only projection on the screen. So does the movie end? We don't have to end the movie. We just have to switch on the light and he realizes the reality.
Yeah, now it's clear, Viraj. It's very clear now.
So movie is going on, but it has no impact on him.
Yes, yes, yes.
So real life saint also has the same thing. World is the same, but he knows this is not reality.
And that would probably happen. Maya would disappear only when Pralay happens, probably.
All those are okay. Those don't, don't go. There are a
Okay.
lot of theories about that. But like what we have to realize is we have to really experience that world is an illusion, not
Yeah.
the theory.
Okay, okay. Okay. Thank you, Viraji. It's clear now.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone has any questions or
A
comments?
similar story which a lion cub being brought up amidst the crowd of the
Yes.
sheep.
Yes. Right.
The similar
Right.
story what he said.
Yes.
It
Yes.
thinks
Yes.
it's a sheep kind of, and then
Yes. Yes.
and then another lion roars and then takes
Yeah.
him
He
and
takes
shows
him to
his
the water and
lake and
shows
then
him.
shows
Water.
his image, and then
Yes.
then he knows that is a lion. So that
Yeah.
is so we are still in the sheep crowd.
See, theoretical knowledge will never change the behavior. Only
Yeah.
experiential knowledge will change the behavior.
So it all boils down to art of detachment.
Not art of detachment. That is
Yeah, you
also.
have to detach from the Maya, from the world. And you just
But
look at it as a picture. It's going, and you just,
no, still there is a
you
difference.
know,
That is like like you are trying to do it. It is not natural. That's what I said.
yeah, yeah.
See, our
It's
our
we are
natural.
practicing.
No, it won't happen. It will only happen with realization. See, that child who's scared of that horror movie, you don't switch on the light, but just keep telling him it is a movie. Don't worry. Don't worry. How long he will be quiet? He won't, because his experiences, it is real. See, in spite of like getting all this knowledge that objects are not going to give us happiness, how many of us like stay away from objects of the world? We still want to, because another thing is experience. What we experience, everyone is running after world objects, and like so we also do the same.
We are also running, na? We are also running.
Yeah. Yeah, that is because of theoretical. But once you know that world is illusion, world also is a movie being played to you. Like, see, you don't have any ambitions in your dream. Like every day night, when you go to bed, you don't say that in today's dream, I want to win $1 million. Do you say that? Because you know it's an illusion. But when you don't know it's an illusion, like it's only theoretical. You just try to convince your mind that there is no happiness. Your experience is exactly opposite. When you acquire some object, you do get happiness. And what is your thinking? Oh, who's seen this permanent happiness? Right now, I am happy with this. Let me go for it. Hmm.
So again, coming back to the same question, since you said this, that the happiness from the object, uh, this is, I know it is temporary, but it is also a borrowed happiness because Brahman is Satchit Anand. So if we borrow the existence aspect and the consciousness
Conscious.
aspect, the Anand aspect is also borrowed, no, Virajji?
Yes. Yes,
So
see, our mind is all the time agitated. It is full of thoughts. That's why we are not able to experience the bliss of Brahman. So how do we experience this happiness when we acquire this object? Because before we acquire the object, the mind is agitated. I want this object, I want this object, or whatever that object. So mind is all the time agitated. So we are not able to experience this happiness inside us. But when we acquire the object and we get it in our possession, for a moment, mind becomes quiet and peaceful. And that time we experience this bliss of Brahman. But how long mind is going to be quiet?
Yes, now I got it. Yes, yes, yes. So at that
Yeah.
temporary
We
time, I
experience this
do.
only when the
Yes,
mind is quiet.
yes, yes, yes. Got it, Virajji.
And that's
Very
why
clear
in
now.
deep sleep, that's why you feel happiness. Because
Yes,
mind is suspended, inactive. There is no mind when you achieve that deep sleep. And that's why we are very
yes.
happy. We don't know anything about deep sleep. The only thing we know, I was very happy. That's why everybody wants to have a deep sleep. People take
It's
drugs to get into deep sleep. Why? Because it gives happiness. You experience happiness of Brahman only that time.
well explained, Virajji. Thank you very much. It's clear now.
Okay. Okay, yeah. Okay, so if there are no more questions, yeah, we can conclude with prayers.
Hari Om Viraj. Thank you.
Hari Om.
Thank you, Hari
Om
Om.
Purnamada Purnamida Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Okay.
Hari Om.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Viraj.
I want to ask one thing.
Yeah.
See, other than acquiring objects, even recognition of your talent, that also is included in the same thing, no?
Yes. And whenever we do that, the mind becomes very peaceful. At that time, like when you are extremely happy, tears roll down from your eyes. It's that kind of happiness. But still, it is nothing compared to actually the bliss of Brahman. It is only like, as Gurudev says, it is like eating chocolate with wrapper.
No, I am wondering, see, now you are telling about acquiring objects. What I'm telling you, suppose you go to a class, that means others are able to recite very well, you are not up to the mark. There also this because of the comparison. No?
Yeah, that is true. That is true. That is
Hmm.
what, like I and others. So there is a
Hmm.
sense of
Ah,
competition also.
competition, yes.
You mentioned only objects, but it is situation, objects,
Yes.
persons, everything.
Yes.
So, Virajji, tears is the paribhasha of Anand bliss.
Yes.
That's
I mean, not always.
That's happiness.
See, actually, the tears means you don't know how to express that emotion. So that emotion can be deep sorrow, it can be extreme happiness, both. You don't know how to express yourself, and as a result, the
that.
tears
Yes.
drop.
The hairs will stand on end, they say, romantic.
Horripilating,
Yes.
romantic.
Those nine rasas, right? Whatever, I don't know.
Hmm.
Ras, different emotions that we. Yeah,
Okay.
okay. So, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Viraj.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, Viraji. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Bye.